The Science Museum is a major museum on Exhibition Road in South Kensington, London. It was founded in 1857 and today is one of the city's major tourist attractions, attracting 3.3 million visitors annually. Like other publicly funded national museums in the United Kingdom, the Science Museum does not charge visitors for admission. Temporary exhibitions, however, may incur an admission fee. It is part of the Science Museum Group, having merged with the Museum of Science and Industry in Manchester in 2012. The Science Museum now holds a collection of over 300,000 items, including such famous items as Stephenson's rocket, Puffing Billy, the oldest surviving steam locomotive, the first jet engine, a reconstruction of Francis Crick and James Watson's model of DNA, some of the earliest remaining steam engines, including an example of a Newcomen steam engine, the world's first steam engine, a working example of Charles Babbage's difference engine, the first prototype of the 10,000-year clock of the Long Now, and documentation of the first typewriter. It also contains hundreds of interactive exhibits. A recent addition is the IMAX 3D cinema showing science and nature documentaries, most of them in 3D, and the Welcome Wing which focuses on digital technology. Entrance has been free since December 1, 2001. The museum houses some of the many objects collected by Henry Wellcome around a medical theme. The fourth-floor exhibit is called Glimpses of Medical History, with reconstructions and dioramas of the history of practiced medicine. The fifth-floor gallery is called Science and the Art of Medicine, with exhibits of medical instruments and practices from ancient days and from many countries. The collection is strong in clinical medicine, biosciences and public health. The museum is a member of the London Museums of Health and Medicine. The Science Museum has a dedicated library, and until the 1960s was Britain's national library for science, medicine, and technology. It holds runs of periodicals, early books and manuscripts, and is used by scholars worldwide. The Science Museum's medical collections have a global scope and coverage. Strengths include clinical medicine, biosciences, and public health. The new Wellcome Wing, with its focus on bioscience, makes the museum a leading world center for the presentation of contemporary science to the public.
The Highlands are a historic region of Scotland. Culturally, the Highlands and the Lowlands diverged from the later Middle Ages into the modern period, when Lowland Scots replaced Scottish Gaelic throughout most of the Lowlands. The term is also used for the area north and west of the Highland boundary fault, although the exact boundaries are not clearly defined, particularly to the east. The Great Glen divides the Grampian Mountains to the southeast from the Northwest Highlands. The Scottish Gaelic name of Agad Healtage literally means the place of the Gaels and traditionally, from a Gaelic-speaking point of view, includes both the Western Isles and the Highlands. The entire region was covered by ice sheets during the Pleistocene ice ages, save perhaps for a few nunataks. The complex geomorphology includes incised valleys and lochs carved by the action of mountain streams and ice, and a topography of irregularly distributed mountains whose summits have similar heights above sea level, but whose bases depend upon the amount of denudation to which the plateau has been subjected in various places. The area is very sparsely populated, with many mountain ranges dominating the region, and includes the highest mountain in the British Isles, Ben Nevis. Before the 19th century, the Highlands was home to a much larger population, but due to a combination of factors including the outlawing of the traditional Highland way of life following the Jacobite Rising of 1745, the infamous Highland clearances, and mass migration to urban areas during the Industrial Revolution, the area is now one of the most sparsely populated in Europe. At 9.1 per km2 in 2012, the population density in the Highlands and Islands is less than 1/7 of Scotland's as a whole, comparable with that of Bolivia, Chad, and Russia. The Highland Council is the administrative body for much of the Highlands, with its administrative centre at Inverness. However, the Highlands also includes parts of the council areas of Aberdeenshire, Angus, Argyll, and Bute, Moray, North Ayrshire, Perth, and Kinross, Stirling and West Dunbartonshire. The Scottish Highlands is the only area in the British Isles to have the taiga biome, as it features concentrated populations of Scots pine forest, see Caledonian forest.
Snowdonia National Park was established in 1951 as the third national park in Britain, following the Peak District and the Lake District. It covers 2,140 square kilometers, and has 60 kilometers of coastline. The park is governed by the Snowdonia National Park Authority, which is made up of local government and Welsh representatives, and its main offices are at Penrhyn and Dwyerth. Unlike national parks in other countries, Snowdonia, and other such parks in Britain, are made up of both public and private lands under central planning authority. More than 26,000 people live within the park. 58.6% of the population could speak Welsh in 2011. While most of the land is either open or mountainous land, there is a significant amount of agricultural activity within the park. Many of the hikers in the area concentrate on Snowdon itself. It is regarded as a fine mountain, but at times get very crowded. In addition, the Snowdon Mountain Railway runs to the summit. The park has 2,380 kilometers of public footpaths, 264 kilometers of public bridleways, and 74 kilometers of other public rights-of-way. The park's entire coastline is a special area of conservation, which runs from the Llyn Peninsula down the mid-Wales coast, the latter containing valuable sand dune systems. The park's natural forests are of the mixed deciduous type, the commonest tree being the Welsh oak. Birch, ash, mountain ash and hazel are also common. The park also contains some large, planted, coniferous forested areas such as Gwydir forests near Btwy Coed, although some areas, once harvested, are now increasingly being allowed to regrow naturally. Northern Snowdonia is the only place in Britain where the Snowdon lily, an Arctic alpine plant, and the rainbow-colored Snowdon beetle, Chrysalina ceralis, are found, and the only place in the world where the Snowdonia hawkweed Hieracium snowdonians grows. Snowdonia's importance in the conservation of habitat and wildlife in the region reflects in the fact that nearly 20% of its total area is protected by UK and European law. Half of that area was set aside by the government under the European Habitats Directive as a special area of conservation. Rare mammals in the park include otters, polecats, and the feral goat, although the pine marten has not been seen for many years. Rare birds include raven, peregrine, osprey, merlin and the red kite.
Somerset House is a large neoclassical building situated on the south side of the Strand in central London, overlooking the River Thames, just east of Waterloo Bridge. The building, originally the site of a Tudor palace, was designed by Sir William Chambers in 1776, and further extended with Victorian wings to the east and west in 1831 and 1856 respectively. The east wing forms part of the adjacent Strand campus of King's College London. As well as the Royal Academy, and the Government Art School, Somerset House was fitted out to house the Royal Society and the Society of Antiquaries. These, and the Geological Society, moved to Burlington House in Piccadilly in the early 19th century. In the late 20th century the building was reinvigorated as a centre for the visual arts. The first institution to move in was the Courtauld Institute of Art, including the Courtauld Gallery, which has an important collection of Old Master and Impressionist paintings. In the late 1990s the main courtyard ceased to be a civil service car park, and the main terrace overlooking the Thames was refurbished and opened to the public, these alterations being overseen by the leading conservation architects Donald and Sull and Associates. A visitor centre featuring audio-visual displays on the history of the building, the gilded state barge of the Lord Mayor of the City of London, and a shop and cafe were opened in the wing overlooking the river. The Gilbert collection of decorative arts, and the Hermitage Rooms, which stage exhibitions of items loaned from the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, moved into the same area. The last Hermitage exhibition took place in 2007 and the Gilbert Collection Galleries closed in 2008. The collection moved into new galleries at the Victoria and Albert Museum in June 2009. Somerset House now puts on a program of art exhibitions drawing on various sources. In the winter, the central courtyard is home to a popular open-air ice rink, as seen during the opening credits of the 2003 Christmas-themed film Love Actually. At other times, an array of fountains display 55 vertical jets of water rising to random heights. The courtyard is also used as a concert venue. A series of music events called the Summer Series are held in July each year. There is also an annual summer season of outdoor film showings.
SS Great Britain is a museum ship and former passenger steamship, which was advanced for her time. She was the longest passenger ship in the world from 1845 to 1854. She was designed by Sambert Kingdom Brunel for the Great Western Steamship Company's transatlantic service between Bristol and New York. While other ships had been built of iron, or equipped with a screw propeller, Great Britain was the first to combine these features in a large ocean-going ship. She was the first iron steamer to cross the Atlantic, which she did in 1845, in the time of 14 days. The ship is 98 meters in length, 15.4 meters in width, 9.9 meters in height, and has a 3,400-ton displacement. She was powered by two inclined two-cylinder engines of the direct-acting type, with twin 2.2 meters bore, 1.8 meters stroke cylinders. She was also provided with secondary sail power. The foredecks provided accommodation for a crew of 120, plus 360 passengers who were provided with cabins, dining, and promenade saloons. The interior was divided into 3 decks, the upper 2 for passengers and the lower for cargo. The 2 passenger decks were divided into forward and aft compartments, separated by the engines and boiler amidships. When launched in 1843, Great Britain was by far the largest vessel afloat. However, her protracted construction and high cost had left her owners in a difficult financial position, and they were forced out of business in 1846, having spent all their funds refloating the ship, after she was run aground at Dundrum Bay after a navigational error. In 1852 she was sold for salvage and repaired. Great Britain carried thousands of immigrants to Australia from 1852 until converted to sail in 1881. 3 years later, she was retired to the Falkland Islands, where she was used as a warehouse, quarantine ship and coal hulk until scuttled in 1937. In 1970, following a cash donation by Sir Jack Hayward that paid for the vessel to be towed back to the UK, Great Britain was returned to the Bristol dry dock where she was built. Now listed as part of the National Historic Fleet, she is an award-winning visitor attraction and museum ship in Bristol Harbour, with between 150,000 and 200,000 visitors annually.
St Kilda is an isolated archipelago situated 64 kilometers west-northwest of North Uist, in the North Atlantic Ocean. It contains the westernmost highlands of the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. The largest island is Hirta, whose sea cliffs are the highest in the United Kingdom. 3 other islands were also used for grazing and seabird hunting. The islands are administratively a part of the Cymharol Nan Eilean Siora local authority area. The island's human heritage includes numerous unique architectural features from the historic and prehistoric periods, although the earliest written records of island life date from the late Middle Ages. The medieval village on Hirta was rebuilt in the 19th century, but illnesses brought by increased external contacts through tourism, and the upheaval of the First World War contributed to the island's evacuation in 1930. The story of St Kilda has attracted artistic interpretations, including Michael Powell's film The Edge of the World and an opera. The islands house a unique form of stone structure known as cleatian, which are only found here. A cleat is a stone storage hut or bothy. Whilst many are still to be found, they are slowly falling into disrepair. There are known to be 1,260 cleatian on Hirta and a further 170 on the other group islands. Currently, The only year-round residents are military personnel. A variety of conservation workers, volunteers and scientists spend time there in the summer months. The entire archipelago is owned by the National Trust for Scotland. It became one of Scotland's 6 World Heritage Sites in 1986, and is one of the few in the world to hold joint status for both its natural and cultural qualities. Parties of volunteers work on the islands in the summer to restore the many ruined buildings that the native St. Kilda left behind. They share the island with a small military base established in 1957. 2 different early sheep types have survived on these remote islands, the Saw-A, a Neolithic type, and the Boer-Ray, an Iron Age type. The islands are a breeding ground for many important seabird species including northern gannets, Atlantic puffins, and northern fulmars. The St. Kilda wren and St. Kilda field mouse are endemic subspecies.
St. Paul's Cathedral, London, is an Anglican cathedral, the seat of the Bishop of London and the mother church of the Diocese of London. It sits on Ludgate Hill at the highest point of the City of London and is a Grade 1 listed building. Its dedication to Paul the Apostle dates back to the original church on this site, founded in AD 604. The present cathedral, dating from the late 17th century, was designed in the English Baroque style by Sir Christopher Wren. Its construction, completed in Wren's lifetime, was part of a major rebuilding program in the city after the Great Fire of London. The cathedral is one of the most famous and most recognizable sights of London. The main internal space of the cathedral is that under the central dome which extends the full width of the nave and aisles. The dome is supported on pendentives rising between 8 arches spanning the nave, choir, transepts, and aisles. The 8 piers that carry them are not evenly spaced. At 111 meters high, it was the tallest building in London from 1710 to 1967. The dome is among the highest in the world. St. Paul's is the second largest church building in area in the United Kingdom after Liverpool Cathedral. St. Paul's Cathedral occupies a significant place in the national identity. It is the central subject of much promotional material, as well as of images of the dome surrounded by the smoke and fire of the Blitz. Services held at St. Paul's have included the funerals of Lord Nelson, the Duke of Wellington, Sir Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher, Jubilee celebrations for Queen Victoria, peace services marking the end of the First and Second World Wars, the wedding of Charles, Prince of Wales and Lady Diana Spencer, the launch of the Festival of Britain, and the Thanksgiving services for the Silver, Golden and Diamond Jubilees and the 80th and 90th birthdays of Elizabeth II. St. Paul's Cathedral is a working church with hourly prayer and daily services. The tourist entry fee at the door is £18 for adults. March 2017, cheaper online, but no charge is made to worshippers.
Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument in Wiltshire, England, 3 kilometers west of Amesbury and 13 kilometers north of Salisbury. It consists of a ring of standing stones, with each standing stone around 4.1 meters high, 2.1 meters wide and weighing around 25 tons. Stones are set within earthworks in the middle of the most dense complex of Neolithic and Bronze Age monuments in England, including several hundred burial mounds. Archaeologists believe it was constructed from 3000 BC to 2000 BC. The surrounding circular earth bank and ditch, which constitute the earliest phase of the monument, have been dated to about 3100 BC. Radiocarbon dating suggests that the first blue stones were raised between 2400 and 2200 BC, although they may have been at the site as early as 3000 BC. Stonehenge was produced by a culture that left no written records. Many aspects of Stonehenge, such as how it was built and which purposes it was used for, remain subject to debate. A number of myths surround the stones. The site, specifically the Great Trilithon, the encompassing horseshoe arrangement of the 5 central trilithons, the heel stone, and the embanked avenue, are aligned to the sunset of the winter solstice and the opposing sunrise of the summer solstice. A natural landform at the monument's location followed this line, and may have inspired its construction. The excavated remains of culled animal bones suggest that people may have gathered at the site for the winter, rather than the summer. Further astronomical associations, and the precise astronomical significance of the site for its people, are a matter of speculation and debate. One of the most famous landmarks in the UK, Stonehenge is regarded as a British cultural icon. It has been a legally protected scheduled ancient monument since 1882, when legislation to protect historic monuments was first successfully introduced in Britain. The site and its surroundings were added to UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites in 1986. Stonehenge is owned by the Crown and managed by English Heritage. The surrounding land is owned by the National Trust. Stonehenge could have been a burial ground from its earliest beginnings. Deposits containing human bone date from as early as 3000 BC, when the ditch and bank were first dug, and continued for at least another 500 years.
Studley Royal Park, including the ruins of Fountains Abbey, is a designated World Heritage Site in North Yorkshire, England. The site, which has an area of 323 hectares, features an 18th-century landscaped garden, some of the largest Cistercian ruins in Europe, a Jacobean mansion and a Victorian church designed by William Burges. It was developed around the ruins of the Cistercian Fountains Abbey. In 1966 the estate was purchased by West Riding County Council and was acquired by the National Trust in 1983. The Abbey precinct is managed by English Heritage on behalf of the National Trust. In 1986 the entire park was designated a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. It gained recognition as it fulfills the criteria of being a masterpiece of human creative genius, and an outstanding example of a type of building or architectural or technological ensemble or landscape which illustrates significant stages in human history. Since 1994 the estate has been within the Nidderdale area of outstanding natural beauty. The water garden at Studley Royal, created by John Albee in 1718, is one of the best surviving examples of a Georgian water garden in England. The garden's elegant ornamental lakes, canals, temples and cascades provide a succession of dramatic eye-catching vistas. It is also studded with a number of follies, including a neo-Gothic castle and a Palladian-style banqueting house. St. Mary's Church was one of two, late Victorian, memorial churches in Yorkshire, built by the family of the first Marquess of Ripon in memory of Frederick Grantham Vyner. The other is the Church of Christ the Consoler at Skelton-on-Uver, and the architect of both was William Burges. St. Mary's, on Lady Ripon's estate at Studley Royal, was commissioned in 1870 and work began in 1871. The church was consecrated in 1878. As at Skelton, Burges' design demonstrates a move from his favoured early French to an English style. The interior is spectacular, exceeding Skelton in richness and majesty. The stained glass is of particularly high quality. St. Mary's is Burges' ecclesiastical masterpiece. The medieval Deer Park, where the church stands, is home to between 300 to 350 deer and a wealth of flora and fauna. At Studley there are three types of deer: red deer, fallow deer, and sika deer.
Tate Modern is a modern art gallery located in London. It is Britain's national gallery of international modern art and forms part of the Tate Group, together with Tate Britain, Tate Liverpool, Tate St Ives and Tate Online. It is based in the former Bankside Power Station, in the Bankside area of the London Borough of Southwark. Tate holds a national collection of British art from 1900 to the present day and international modern and contemporary art. Tate Modern is one of the largest museums of modern and contemporary art in the world. As with the UK's other national galleries and museums, there is no admission charge for access to the collection displays, which take up the majority of the gallery space, while tickets must be purchased for the major temporary exhibitions. The collections in Tate Modern consist of works of international modern and contemporary art dating from 1900 until today. Levels 2, 3 and 4 contain gallery space. Each of those floors is split into a large east and west wing with at least 11 rooms in each. Space between these wings is also used for smaller galleries on levels 2 and 4. The Boiler House shows art from 1900 to the present day. The Switch House has 11 floors, numbered 0 to 10. Levels 0, 2, 3 and 4 contain gallery space. Level 0 consists of the tanks, spaces converted from the power station's original fuel oil tanks, while all other levels are housed in the tower extension building constructed above them. The Switch House shows art from 1960 to the present day. The turbine hall is a single large space running the whole length of the building between the boiler house and the switch house. At 6 stories tall, it represents the full height of the original power station building. It is cut by bridges between the boiler house and the switch house on levels 1 and 4, but the space is otherwise undivided. The western end consists of a gentle ramp down from the entrance and provides access to both sides on level 0. The eastern end provides a very large space that can be used to show exceptionally large artworks to its unusual height.